Welcome back, Bird Gang fans, to the Red Phantom podcast, where today we'll be talking everything involving the Arizona Cardinals. This episode will focus on my thoughts and reaction, as well as other people's thoughts and reaction about the game against the Miami Dolphins, as well as our upcoming game against the Chicago Bears. So let's jump straight into last week's game. So starting off with last week against the Miami Dolphins, obviously a fantastic win for the Cardinals. 28-27, the final score. Cardinals move on 4-4. Now we're the number one seed in the NFC West, which is great news. Granted, it's tied with the Seattle Seahawks and the San Francisco 49ers, but it's still first place, so I'll take what it is. After the Dolphins game, the Cardinals have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. Again, don't really know how, just by looking at the schedule. We face the Bears this week, the Jets next week, Seattle Seahawks, Vikings, Seahawks again, Patriots, Panthers, Rams, 49ers to end the season. Honestly, record-wise, the teams aren't great. The Bears right now are 4-3. The Jets just won the other night, so they're 3-6. Seattle is 4-4 with us. Vikings are 5-2. Seahawks again. Patriots are, 2-6. Panthers are 1-7, Rams are 3-4, and the 49ers are 4-4 as well. So it is what it is. I don't know if it's the easiest schedule or one of the easiest schedules in the NFL. The Bears have been playing decent. The Jets have been slowly getting hot. Seattle Seahawks, as divisional rivals are always tough. The Vikings, they've been kind of a slump, but I think they'll bounce back. Patriots are the Patriots. Panthers are the Panthers. Both those teams really aren't that great. Rams have Puka and Cooper Kupp back, and then the Niners are probably going to have CMC back by the time we get to them. Obviously, their team's not super healthy, but CMC does make a pretty big impact, especially for a team that's trying to fight for a playoff spot. However, we did see some things we like to see for the Arizona Cardinals. To start off the game, Dolphins had two fumbles that, unfortunately, Cardinals just couldn't recover, and they went and scored a touchdown. Tua's first touchdown since being out of the league since week 2. Cardinals go out there, punt their first opening drive of the game, second drive of the game for either team, and then the Dolphins take the quick lead, make it a 10-0 game. Finally, Cardinals score. Michael Wilson, after Kyler Murray scrambling from a blitz, finds Michael Wilson in the open end zone. Touchdown there, 7-10. Dolphins punt, couple punts here and there. Dolphins go and kick a field goal to make it a 7-13 game to end the half. And, things are actually looking pretty decent for the most part. We're keeping up with the Dolphins with Tua. Granted, Tua didn't play spectacular because, he is kind of rusty after not playing, 5-6 weeks. And then, Cardinals go back out there, kick another field goal, make a 3-point game. Dolphins score another touchdown, we punt. And then there was a botched snap by Tua for a safety, making it an 8-point game. Cardinals go down and score a touchdown. Unfortunately, we can't get the 2-point conversion, so it's a 2-point game. Dolphins score another touchdown, and the Cardinals go back and score another touchdown, making it a 25-27 game. Marvin Harrison definitely was, lighting up the score, getting his impact in the game. We look at the stats real quick, Marvin Harrison Jr., 6 catches, 111 yards for a touchdown. Trey McBride had himself a game too, 9 catches, 124 yards. No touchdowns on the game, and still no passing touchdowns on the season. Michael Wilson, like I said, got a touchdown early in the game, 5 catches for 31 yards. So our playmakers are definitely making plays, and it was definitely something we wanted to see as Cardinal fans, that Drew Petzing definitely was able to get the passing question kind of situated for this game, because like I said last week, our team heavily focuses on the run, and when the run doesn't work, our team kind of falls apart. And thankfully, this was the game where Drew Petzing was able to get it together. This was the game where Marvin Harrison Jr. was able to get it together. Trey McBride was able to make a huge impact with Marvin Harrison making plays, and Kyler Murray threw over the 300-yard mark for the first time since 2022 against the Vikings. So this team definitely has the potential to make the playoffs. And with everything clicking right now as it is for the offense, all we really need is a trade for an edge rusher. And granted, our team didn't play horrible when it came to pass rush. I mean, Dante still recorded a sack. There was a couple of big plays. Budda Baker, 12 tackles. Jalen Thompson, 11 tackles. Max Felton, starting corner with Sean Murphy bunting out. Didn't play spectacular, but definitely stepped up into the role, helped the Cardinals pull out a victory. But like I said, the edge rushing group is definitely lackluster with, Dennis Gardeck going out with an injury. There was reports that Monty Ossenfort was looking to trade for an edge rusher at the trade deadline come Tuesday. So hopefully the Cardinals will be able to pull some trade. I'm hoping for Azeez Ojulari, cheap young player that can make an impact on the team. And of course, brother of BJ Ojulari on the Cardinals, our former second-round pick from last year. But I think adding an edge rusher on this team definitely makes this defense a little scarier. I think it makes the team a little scarier, especially with how the offense is playing now. And just looking back on this game, I mean, our really only fall off was third down conversions on defense. I mean, we really could not stop Tua and the Dolphins on third downs. No matter what the yards was, it could be 3rd and 16, it could have been 3rd and 20, it could be 3rd and 4. We could not stop them on third downs. Now, we did get a couple of breaks and stop them on third downs a couple of times, and that's how we end up winning the game in the first place. But that's definitely not something you want to see for your team, to be able to go out there and no matter what the distance is on third down, give that up. And it's kind of like a soul crusher to watch that happen. Now, the team played better, like I mentioned, with Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr. Offensive game, like I said, definitely improved with the passing game because, I mean, for James Conner, 20 carries, 53 yards, a touchdown. Nothing spectacular, but like I said, this Miami defense is a better run defense than it was a pass defense. Kyler Murray had 5 carries for 19 yards. Trey Benson had a pretty nice carry for 10 yards. So nice to see him getting involved here and there. But like I said, when that run game doesn't get involved, that pass game needs to happen. That's exactly what happened this week with the Miami Dolphins. Kyler Murray goes into another game without an interception, a turnover. His 3rd consecutive game without a sack, which is impressive for this offensive line with dealing with the injuries that it is. Obviously, no Will Hernandez. Jonah Williams is coming back from IR. He did practice this week, but he will not be back for the game against the Bears. Maybe he'll play against the game against the Jets, but we're not 100% certain about that. He still is practicing, trying to work on that knee injury he suffered back in week 1, but definitely a lot of promise looking there. We also got information that Darius Robinson was activated from the IR, but like I said, I think he was only activated just so that he wouldn't miss the rest of his season, like I said last week. So he was activated to the 53-man roster. However, he won't play because of his calf injury. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play next week against the Jets. But very little optimism there. I'm hoping he plays at least some point during his rookie career or his rookie season for this team. Definitely will make an impact on this defense. Definitely help improve the pass rush, the run defense, whatever the case may be with how inexperienced this defense is. I mean, like I said a couple weeks ago, the team is very young. The team is, still developing, and it's developing at a good rate with how the team's performing. I mean, 4-4, definitely an improvement from last year. Kyler Murray, 26 for 36, 2 touchdowns, like I mentioned. Great game just overall. I mean, Tua definitely, was a little rusty, but still had a game. 28 completions on 38 attempts, 234 yards for a touchdown. Achane looked a lot better with Tua back, and like I mentioned last week, I mean, the whole offense plays different when Tua's back. Achane, 10 carries, 97 yards, no touchdown, but Raheem Mostert, 9 carries, 19 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 6 catches for 72 yards. Achane, 6 catches for 50 yards, 4 a touchdown. So, I mean, this Dolphins team will definitely improve over time. I mean, granted, this week they play the Bills, so they won't, play spectacular. I think they might get destroyed, honestly, like they did week 2. But overall, I mean, this was a must-need win for the Cardinals, and especially to establish themselves as a team not to be messed with. And, Chad Ryland, props to him. I mean, I think a lot of Cardinal fans, after he was promoted to the active roster, were kind of nervous. Anytime a veteran kicker gets out with injury and then, you see him come out and you see, oh, the practice squad kicker. Like, it kind of is nerve-wracking seeing that, and you're like, oh, like, is this kicker going to be good? Is this kicker, or we're going to have to, pray every time he kicks the ball? And props to him. I mean, he won NFC Special Teams Player of the Month for October. I mean, 3 game-winning kicks, 49ers, Chargers, Miami Dolphins. I mean, he's really just done it all for the Cardinals. And it's great having him on a team with Matt Prater out on IR. I mean, he's really only missed 1 kick, and then was that blocked kick against the 49ers, a return for a touchdown. But beside that, he's been absolutely perfect. Made kicks left and right, made kicks in the clutch. 8 points for him against the Miami Dolphins. 2 field goals, 2 extra points. And yeah, I mean, the team just looked fantastic. And there's really not much to go off of that. I mean, if you watch the game, I mean, everything was clicking for the Cardinals. And it's nice to see, Marvin Harrison Jr. finally get the connection with Kyler Murray. And I think this was long overdue. We saw in week 1 against the Rams, where he had the 130-yard game with 2 touchdowns. And now that we see this with, not just a quarter, like, lottery draft, or not, where he just had a lucky break in the first quarter of the Rams game, had all those catches and touchdowns. But he was consistent the entire game. I mean, 6 catches, 111 yards for a touchdown. That's something you want to see with the number 4 pick in the draft. And we finally got to see it this game. We finally got to see Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. have that connection to make, a pretty lethal passing opportunity for this team. And you add on the rushing opportunity with James Conner. I mean, this team is going to be dangerous when things start to click for this team. And Kyler Murray with his rushing ability, James Conner with his catching mobility, Marvin Harrison with his route running, Trey McBride with his big body to catch, heavy contested targets. It's really a revitalized offense, and I would love to see Drew Petzing build off of the offensive impact that happened last week against the Dolphins going into this week against the Bears. Because, to be fair, this Bears defense is a tough defense. And you look at it, and their defense probably single-handedly saved the majority of the games that the Bears have won. I mean, you look at the Bears, a 4-3 record, beat the Titans, barely lose to the Texans, barely lose to the Colts, beat the Rams, you beat the Panthers, you beat the Jaguars, you lose to the Commanders with a Hail Mary there. And really, I mean, that defense is what kept them in a lot of these games. I mean, the defense is what saved them week 1. I mean, that's how they won their first matchup. It's what kept them close in week 2, what kept them close in week 3. Shut them out against the Rams week 4 with a 24-18 victory. Killed the Panthers. The Jaguars have been playing great. They destroyed the Jaguars in London. And they kept it close for the Commanders, which is something the Cardinals couldn't do. And it's partly because of that defensive line, linebacker crew, the secondary, whatever the case may be. But, just an unlucky break for the Bears to have that Hail Mary caught over the Bears defense for the win, 18-15 there. So this will definitely be a tough matchup to go into next week, especially at home. However, the Bears are 0-3 away. So there is a little bit of hope that, maybe something might not click. And, injuries are always an issue. Montez Sweat is limited in practice. He's going to be questionable for the game with a shin injury. So there's going to be some optimism. Maybe, the defense isn't going to be 100%. Maybe, there's not going to be some key players playing. I mean, whatever the case may be. I mean, any game happens. And, look at the Cardinals. I mean, we had some pretty big injuries that thankfully a lot of them were able to come back. I mean, unfortunately, some of them, were season enders. But for the most part, we still had a lot of our players come back. I mean, like I said, Jonah Williams coming back is a pretty big deal. Darius Robinson coming back. Obviously, he hasn't played practice yet, but him being back is definitely an improvement for this defensive line. Roy Lopez coming back. Kevin Beachum, making a step up from the injured. I mean, the Cardinals have been pretty healthy for the most part, and it's a great sign to see that. But, we have had some injuries, especially at our weakest point with our edge rushing core. But whatever the case may be, I mean, the Cardinals are definitely have to step up their game from what they played against the Dolphins. And, they had a pretty great game against the Dolphins with the stats that they had. I would like to see a little more production with Michael Wilson now that we have Marvin Harrison, Trey McBride, kind of established in this offense. We need to have more consistency with Marvin Harrison Jr. We can't have him have this triple-digit receiving yard game and then go back to only tossing him the ball 3-4 times a game with like a stat line of 25 yards or something like that. That cannot happen. And if he gets like 5 catches for, like 70, 80 yards, okay, that's reasonable. 60 yards, okay, fine. As long as he's still being involved somewhat in this offense, that is okay. And, McBride playing with his ability in the game, I think after that Packers game, they definitely were like, okay, let's get McBride more involved. He's our big, reliable tight end that we can focus on, kind of like Travis Kelce for Patrick Mahomes. He's kind of Kyler Murray's safety blanket, where you can kind of rely on him no matter where he's at to catch the ball. Marvin Harrison Jr., obviously, they still need to get him more involved, like I keep mentioning. And I think a lot of it is just with him being a rookie, it's hard to find those connections and keep those connections because, he's still trying to adapt to the NFL pace. He's still trying to find his spot on the team. He's still trying to do whatever it takes to get himself involved in this team. And, he did voice his frustrations 2 weeks ago against the Chargers where he was like, this isn't the season that I had expected, but it's still working on my favor. I mean, Marvin Harrison has 411 yards for 26 receptions and 5 touchdowns. So really, really great stuff from Marvin Harrison. Obviously, a rookie. Everyone was kind of expecting him to break and shatter rookie records. It's not going to look like that with the look of how things are going, but he still will make an impact for this Cardinals team. He still will, find himself into those rookie record conversations and, superstar conversations in the future if he continues to play the way he did against the Miami Dolphins. Trey McBride right now, 446 yards, leads the team in receptions, 42 receptions. Just like I said, the safety blanket for Kyler Murray, definitely one of those guys where, he has a lot more trust in. So he's going to have a lot more targets, a lot more, catches underneath, whatever the case may be. Once Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray get that connection like they did against the Dolphins, we will see, kind of like a Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill kind of duo. I mean, obviously Marvin Harrison's not going to be the cheetah and run down the field and catch, 60-yard touchdowns like nothing. But it'll kind of be a similar duo where you have Trey McBride as the Travis Kelce kind of role. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the Tyreek Hill kind of role where, he can get open spaces if you give him time. He's a great route runner. You just have to give him the time to develop those passes. And we've seen that consistently. I mean, you look back to the Bills game where he got open on, the pump fake, but unfortunately the blitz came in. We saw him against the Rams. We put up 130 yards in one quarter. We saw him last week against the Chargers when he made that double move and was wide open for a touchdown. Unfortunately, the pocket just collapsed a little too early. But, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get open on one of those passes where he works a double move. He just runs past the defender, whatever the case may be. So this defense and offense is very young, but very promising. And it's going to take time. It's going to take some patience. And I know a lot of Cardinal fans, don't have a lot of patience. And it's a hard thing to do. I mean, especially with all the hype, especially with everything going on with the team, you want to see success now. You want to see success, in front of you. You want to see how the team progresses. But for the team being 4-4 right now, I think that's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't think a lot of people expected us to even be close to the number 1 spot in the NFC West. And for them to be tied right now with 3 other teams is impressive. And one of them being the Super Bowl runner-ups from last year, that's impressive in itself. I mean, granted, injuries kind of have derailed a lot of teams, but the Cardinals have definitely taken their opportunities and run with it. But, we'll continue on with that. We'll go into the Bears game and talk more about, the matchup this week for the Sunday afternoon game. So let's jump into the Cardinals versus Bear matchup this week. Now, going into this week against the Bears, I know we talked a little bit about their record. I mean, 4-3, 0-3 away. With their record, I mean, they really have not faced any strong teams, I would say. I would say the best team that they faced is the Commanders. And with that, I mean, they definitely did keep it a close game. They probably should have won had it not been for that miraculous Hail Mary at the end of the game that won the Commanders with Noah Brown's walk-off Hail Mary touchdown. But hindsight, I mean, the games that they've beaten, the teams that they've beaten, the Titans, the Rams, the Panthers, and the Jaguars. Panthers are 1-6. Jaguars are 2-6. The Titans are 1-6. And the Rams are 3-4. And that's before they got Puka and Cooper Kupp back. So realistically, the Titans were winless when they beat them because it was week 1. The Jaguars were 1-6 when they beat them. The Panthers were 1-5 when they beat them. And the Rams were, I believe, 1-2 or 1-3. But look at all those teams. That means the teams that they beat combined had a total of 4 wins. So look at that. Take that with however you want. Granted, like I said, Commanders, it was a close game. Texans, it was a close game. Colts, it was a close game. But it was Anthony Richardson. So take that as you will. It's one of those games where it's a toss-up, I would say. I mean, the Bears' offense is not good. They have very hit-and-miss days. Last week was a very much swing-and-a-miss game. The Jaguars game in London, they hit it out of the park. Panthers game, they hit it out of the park. Rams game, they barely won. Colts game, they barely lost. Texans game was just a swing and a miss. Texans defense saved them week 1. The offense was, again, a swing and a miss. I mean, you really can't look at those teams and say that this offense has something clicked together because they don't. I mean, DJ Moore hasn't been playing great, and granted, it's from Caleb Williams. Keenan Allen hasn't been playing great just because of age. Ramon Dunze hasn't been playing great because, he's a third, fourth option on the team. Cole Kmet's been decent. DeAndre Swift has been, average since week 4, I believe, when he had that breakout game and his job was on the line. But, their defense is the sole reason that any of these games are close. I mean, let's take a look at the Commanders game last week. I mean, Jaden Daniels sacked 2 times, 326 yards and a touchdown. I mean, defense didn't play spectacular, but they still did their thing. Tremaine Edmonds, 10 tackles. Tariq Stevenson, 9 tackles. Ended up giving up that Hail Mary at the end of the game. Edwards had a sack. Montez Sweat has a sack. Kevin Byard, pretty great veteran safety to have back there. Just looking at the team, I mean, there's a lot of experience. There's a lot of, people that know what to do on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, last week, like I said, DeAndre Swift, 130 yards, a touchdown. So he's, probably their best run player when the run game is going. So he's probably going to be something to look forward to with our defensive line, in our run game. Roma Dunze led the team last week with 41 yards on 3 catches. That is definitely something. Keenan Allen, 2 receptions for 39 yards. DJ Moore, 2 for 27 yards. I mean, they really could not get anything going last week offensively. And you look back to the Jaguars in London. Granted, the Jaguars defense isn't great by any means. Caleb Williams probably had his career game. 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. DeAndre Swift, 91 yards, a touchdown. Cole Kmet, 2 touchdowns for 70 yards. Keenan Allen had a, breakout game for the Bears. 41 yards, 2 touchdowns, which is his highest career, or his highest season for receiving yards. Cole Kmet, 40 yards. I mean, he really hasn't done much since his Colts game where he put up 112 yards and a touchdown. DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore just has not looked great on this offense. And, again, this defense is definitely a reason that this team's been playing well. I mean, 4 sacks against the Jaguars, 70 tackles in total, 4 tackle for losses, and interception. So this defense is definitely going to give the Cardinals some problems. And, Jalen Johnson's definitely one of the better corners in the league with his passer rating that he has. So, him being paired up against Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a tougher matchup. Obviously, Tremaine Edmonds being one of the better veteran linebacker experiences on the team. He's probably going to be paired up against Trey McBride, so that's going to cause some issues there. DJ Moore obviously probably will get paired up against Sean Murphy-Bunting or Starling Thomas. You're probably looking at Roman Dunes get paired up against Garrett Williams. Keenan Allen probably getting paired up against whoever other the starting corner is. Whoever the Sean Murphy-Bunting or Starling Thomas. So one of those two players are going to be playing against either one of those players. Like I said, Montez Sweat is questionable with a shin injury. Jawan Brisker is out, so that's a huge blow for the defense. Braxton Jones is out for the offensive tackle. That's another big loss for their offensive side of the ball. Kyler Gordon is questionable, so that, leaves some question up in the air. Obviously, like I said, Darius Robinson is out. Jonah Williams is out. Naquan Jones is questionable. Roy Lopez is questionable. Kelvin Beachum, I think, is going to play this week. So, things are looking great injury-wise for the Cardinals. But, yeah, I mean, you look at the last 5 games. I mean, Cardinals finally won 2 games in a row since 2020 with the win against the Chargers, the win against the Dolphins. And, their last 5 games, they're 3-2, which is impressive. The Bears are also 3-2. Granted, their 3 wins are against the Jaguars, the Panthers, and the Rams. So take that as you will. But, yeah, just definitely it's going to be very, very hard for us to get things rolling on offense with this defense that we're facing, but I still think we'll be able to get it done if we continue with the momentum that we had last week against the Dolphins. I mean, we saw, 2 receivers put up triple-digit receiving yards. Kyler Murray put up 300 yards. Definitely playing his best football of his season. James Conner putting up 557 yards on the season. Obviously, last week wasn't his greatest game, but still, touchdown, 57 yards there. Definitely putting in the work for what it needs to be. Leads the league in broken tackles by a long shot, which is amazing to see. And, we put in more roles with, Michael Wilson, more roles with Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, hopefully. Elijah Higgins, maybe we'll see some Tip Ryman. Maybe we'll see, more Trey Benson. Maybe we'll see, whatever the case may be. But our main priority is trying to get something to keep the defense guessing. And, Kyler Murray's mobility, James Conner with his running ability, Marvin Harrison finally getting stuff clicking, Trey McBride being the safety blanket I keep mentioning. I think this team's going to be looking great for this game just because everything, is kind of falling into place. And I said, Caleb Williams, he's been hit or miss, like I said, 1,448 yards, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Definitely not the greatest stats for a quarterback, but I would say decent for a rookie quarterback. But, with the offense as it is, I don't think that's great by any means. DJ Moore leads the team right now with 341 yards and 3 touchdowns. I don't know. I mean, it's one of those games where I think it's going to be, just a very hard-fought game. And I would not be surprised if it came down to a last-second field goal again this week for Chad Ryland. And, right now the books have us, the Cardinals, at -2.5 when it opened up at -1.5. So obviously things have changed. The favors are definitely for the Cardinals. Definitely looking good there, but ESPN matchup predictor has the Bears at a 50.1% chance of winning the game. The Cardinals at 49.5. Don't know how the math doesn't add up there, but it is what it is. So from looking from there, I mean, we have to, obviously shut down the offense, which our defense has been doing a great job with Nick Rallis. Looking at everything, our big targets are going to be, DeAndre Swift on offense, DJ Moore on offense. I don't think Cole Kmet really have that big of an impact with Kaiser White, but I said that against the Chargers, and Will Dissly absolutely cooked us in that game. Rome Odunze is third for team in receiving yards and 1 touchdown. So, definitely not a horrible offense, but like I said, very hit or miss. So that is a big thing. Defensively, 20 sacks on the season. That's, something scary with this offense. Gervon Dexter, 4 sacks. Montez Sweat with 3.5. Darnell Taylor with 2. DeMarcus Walker with 1.5. And it's just like, this list is very, very long with people who have had sacks. And you look at that, you look at the interceptions, and there's been 7 interceptions on this team. 1 for a touchdown, which is that week 1 against the Titans that won them the game. They've had 10 forced fumbles. So, this defense is definitely going to come out to play against this Cardinals offense. And I feel like if the Cardinals offense does not pick up production like it was last week, it's going to be a very long game for the Cardinals. It might be a very defensive game for the most part, just because I don't feel like I said, the Bears offense is going to keep up very much with the Cardinals defense. But the same thing could be said with the Cardinals offense. I don't think it could keep up with the Bears defense at some points in the game. But I feel like the Cardinals offense is definitely a lot better than the Bears offense as it is. I think it's a very even matchup, which gives that sportsbook -2.5 or -2 for the Cardinals' favor. So I think the Cardinals will win. I think it'll be a walk-off field goal again by a point, I would say. But, things are looking great. Hopefully the Cardinals can pull off a win this week. Definitely give us more favors into going up against the Jets next week, which I feel like will be a lot tougher matchup than people predict. Granted, the Jets' record doesn't look great, but, the team is a lot better than, the record shows. Devontae Adams, Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Allen Lazard is out. Breece Hall, strong runner. Braylon Allen, another strong young runner. Aaron Rodgers is definitely getting something clicking now, unfortunately. Tyler Conklin definitely playing better. But, yeah, defense, Hassan Reddick is definitely back. Hasn't been really making much of an impact. Quentin Williams has been making an impact on the team. Sauce Gardner, obviously, with his holding ability. It's going to be a tough matchup next week. So I feel like this is a much needed win for the Cardinals this week, because I don't feel like next week is going to be in our favor by any means. We could go out there and upset the Jets. It's very possible. We've done that twice already with a couple of other teams. But, yeah, this Bears teams, I feel like this is the one team that we need to beat going into continuing with our season. And with this win, it'll definitely put us more into playoff position with teams. Seattle will play the Rams this week. The 49ers are on a bye week, so Seattle will probably lose this week without DK Metcalf. So that thing puts us into more of a chance for the Rams to beat Seattle. The tight end Noah Fant is also out for that game, so the Rams definitely look more of the favorites for that game, which would definitely bump down the Seahawks to a game behind the Cardinals. There's a chance if we lose as well, the Rams could take the number 1 spot behind the 49ers who are on a bye week. But if we win this game, it'll definitely put us a game ahead in front of all those teams. 49ers, like I said, don't play this week. Seattle, play the Rams this week. Divisional matchup there, but it's definitely looking to be a very, very close finish going into the midpoint of the season for the Arizona Cardinals. And, like I mentioned, the Bears last week losing against the Commanders. It's that half point in the season, so maybe Cliff Kingsbury kind of is slipping up a little bit. It wouldn't shock anyone because we all know how Cliff is on offense. But, maybe things will turn around for the Commanders. We'll find out in the next coming week to see, it was a fluke that Hail Mary happened. Obviously it was a fluke that Hail Mary happened, but is it a fluke that, the Bears played so well against the Commanders, or is it, that Cliff Kingsbury's offensive play calling is just not changing anymore at the half point in the season? But I think that's going to end this episode for the Red Phantom podcast. Make sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, X, TikTok, YouTube, the Spotify podcast account, whatever you may find me on. I'll be there interacting with people, doing whatever the case may be. But yeah, this will be this week's episode for Miami Dolphins. Thoughts and reactions there, as well as the Bears predicting for this upcoming game this Sunday. But with that, this is the Red Phantom signing out until next week.